Well, the Illinois basketball season, of course, is over after their loss to UConn, which then enters the off season. And for everything in the college sports world is the transfer portal. It's mainly talked about in college football, but it does happen a lot in basketball, and it's slowly starting to ramp up with the basketball landscape. Brad Underwood talked about it after the game. He said, it's crazy that transfers can go into the portal right during the March Madness tournament. And he said that it was very frustrating because they're getting ready to plan for an Elite Eight game. And then on top of it, they have to be on the phone with transfers. The assistant coaches have to hop on these calls, text, be on top of it, looking at these guys that enter in the portal because Illinois is going to have some holes to fill with Terrence Shannon Jr. leaving, Goody, Coleman Hawkins said that he would leave. Guerriere said, he was done with his 1 year and now he has no more eligibility. Domask is probably out. Something with the NCAA where maybe he could get a extension, but it's, a lot of holes to fill. And then, right after they lose, Dain Dainja, the big man, starts a couple games, comes off the bench, says he's going to enter the transfer portal, that he loved his time at Illinois, but he is off to the transfer portal to see if he can find a new home somewhere else. That just adds another hole in the roster that has to be filled with Illinois basketball. And they're going to have to figure out a way. They're going to have, get some recruits in. They're going to have to attack the transfer portal pretty hard. Brad Underwood has understood the transfer portal world. That was one thing I said last year, where he was going to have to really think about how he structures the roster. You can't really build a team off of just recruiting freshmen and just building up a team the old-fashioned way. Just doesn't seem to happen. Can't really happen in the transfer portal world anymore. But that's just the world we live in. So Dain Dainja enters the transfer portal. And so what does this mean for Illinois and the roster? What does this mean moving forward? Well, obviously, like I just said, it means that they are going to have to fill another hole in the roster. I'm not too incredibly shocked that Dain Dainja entered the transfer portal, only because if you look at, sometimes he plays a ton, sometimes he doesn't. And some inconsistent play from Dain Dainja. I personally like him when he's out there. I know what's going to stick out in their minds is in the NCAA tournament game when he got this nice steal versus Iowa State, tried to dribble through everybody, and that's just not his game. But we also have to remember, man, he's got some shifty post moves, and when they're on and he's confident, it looks amazing. And has a lot of good post moves, good defense. He's got good footwork. From last year to this year, lost a ton of weight so that way he could keep up with people. Last year with the roster, him coming off the bench, they would pull him more to guard somebody in the three-point line, which he was not as comfortable doing. I thought maybe he could have played a little more against UConn and Klingon because you need big on big. No offense to Coleman Hawkins, the height could keep up with Klingon a little bit, but Dain Dainja, I thought, being a bigger body, pushing him out of the lane, that type of thing, that's where he could have shined. But again, we're not too incredibly shocked because as the year went on, you just saw the Illinois team take shape and form, and they were going to be a little more up and down. They're going to be a lot more fast pace. And I don't think that's quite Dain Dainja's game. I think he lost weight enough to try to do it. He can do it a little bit, but he just, too many mistakes being made and everything else kind of leads to him not getting as many minutes. And so he's thinking that he's going to be off to bigger and better things. And what does this mean? Well, just means that Illinois is going to have to make a decision on, do they want to have like a big guy like an Edey or a Klingon? Do they find a different hybrid type of guy like a Coleman Hawkins that can play inside or outside? Even though I think Coleman Hawkins is more of a mid-range outside guy more than an inside guy. But that's just kind of the world of basketball where your traditional big men are not the same. and they don't play that way much, even in the NBA when you see it. But if you look at Dain Dainja's, he's been there since 2021, and he played in 3 games that first year. He played in 33 games, played in 38 games now. I mean, you could look at this is probably some frustration. Last year, he averaged 20 minutes a game. This year went down to 10. So he's not playing a lot. He probably feels like he's got some good shifty moves, can guard some big guys. He probably just feels like he can go to a different place and get more minutes. Maybe he could have got more minutes this coming year. Who knows? He obviously had to have a conversation, hopefully, with Brad Underwood and figuring that part out. Everything kind of went down. He shot 52% free throws last year, 47 this year, had 5.5 rebounds last year, 3.6 this year, 1.2 blocks a game last year, 0.6 this time around. Averaged 9.5 points a game last year. Now he's averaging 6.1 points this year. Against UConn, he only played 9 minutes, had 0 across the board. He did have a turnover. So it just was probably more frustration. He been at Illinois for 3 years. He probably felt like he gave everything he had to the program. And for his own maybe not mental health, for his own career, he probably felt that he could have played more. But I mean, when Coleman Hawkins is playing a lot, are you really going to play over him in a fast-paced up and down? Gary Ayer comes in. He's lengthy, can get rebounds and do that stuff. Domask is not short. Terrence Harris Jr., obviously, and he's looking at the roster for next year. As Ty Rodgers is, plays a lot. Is going to go up. Sincere Harris probably coming back. So you're looking at those things, and he probably had to make those decisions. Illinois did add had a transfer, Jake Davis from Mercer. He was one of the top 3-point shooters in the SoCon conference as a freshman. And so he's pretty tall himself. He's not a center by any means. He is 6'6". So that just adds another wing type player that hopefully is a shooter. But if he's on, obviously on defense, you're going to get the rebounds. So was Dain Dainja just kind of look at the writing on the wall saying, okay, I'm not going to fit in this offense. I'm not going to, I think it's one thing to go from 20 minutes a game down to 18. You still have the opportunity there to say, okay, I'm playing what I was. If he's playing exactly the same amount of minutes, would that have affected him as much? But to go from 20 to 10 minutes, everything gets dropped. I mean, in a way, we're not shocked. Again, like I said, I'm not shocked. Can't really blame him, I guess. But this kind of goes to everything. We talk about the transfer portal with football. You would almost like to see him continue the progress he has made and just say, you got to come in and battle out and continue to make that, be an Edie and be dominant. I just think sometimes there's too much. I don't want to call it like a spaz type of thing, but sometimes I think his mind moves quicker than his body, and, he'll turn the ball over. But you watch some of the post moves, they're just so good. And then sometimes his feet move way quicker than his mind. But sad to see him go, obviously, because he's been a core piece. I thought he was a good thing coming off the bench. And then if he continued to be stronger and faster and agile and put the same amount of, because I don't think people are going to sit here and say weight was a problem, but he got faster. He dropped some weight. He was leaning out. And, I think Brad Underwood could have figured out a way to use him. And again, I don't want to make this a long episode or continue to repeat. I wish that the way things kind of used to be, where you stay and you fight and battle it out and try to earn your way to more minutes. I'm not saying this is what he did or what he was thinking, but players nowadays maybe feel like they are doing those things. But obviously, if you're not in the game and playing as much, then to me, that's an obvious way to say, hey, you're really not doing enough to play and do those things. But this does leave a big man hole on the roster, because where Dain Dainja was good coming off the bench is to match the big guys if they come off the bench or if they're causing issues to Illinois, and he can put that in or put him in, slow everything down just a hair. But I know Illinois lived with the fast break this year because of the likes of Terrence Shannon and company. Is that going to be the same type of team next year with Ty Rogers, hopefully Sincere Harris being back? Now you've got a sophomore next year with Davis coming from Mercer. He's a shooter. Are they going to try to implement the same type of things? And is that the type of offense that Brett Underwood envisions? We were all just kind of hoping that Dain Dainja would kind of be like a Kofi Coburn, be fast, can kind of guard near the top, and just be very efficient there. And this year just quite didn't get there. But again, you have these guys. Coleman Hawkins been around for a long time. Terrence Shannon, the way he improved. Ty Rogers, the way he was improving with his energy on defense. Yeah, I think it was just kind of hard to sit there and say, where are you going to take these minutes from and give them to Dain Dainja this year? Now, again, next year, a part of me thought he could enter the transfer portal. A part of me said I could see him staying because he was already here for 3 years. But this is the new wave of the world that we live in, that, he probably deeply loves Illinois to spend the last 3 years there, but ultimately it's transfer portal. They're going to try to see if it could be better at another school, and that's just the way the world works now. And so, Dain Dainja, thank you for everything you did for Illini. We are sad to see you go, obviously, because that you've been around for a while. You understand what Brett Underwood wants. I can already hear it now. Well, he just can't handle Brett Underwood, which I think is going to be very idiotic to say because he had been there for 3 years. So obviously he can't handle Coach Underwood's coaching. The Illini next year, they have to start really seeing if they can plug in any recruits. And then, him and company, they're going to have to try to get into the transfer portal. Again, like I said, they got Davis from Mercer. He shot 39% from three. So that's a hole that they could fill, hopefully like a Dome Mask type of player. And if he's a sophomore, comes in and does well and they can be successful, maybe he doesn't enter the transfer portal and leaves. But again, Dain Dainja probably saw the writing on the wall. This guy's going to come in. It's adding. You can kind of see what the offense is forming into. He will be gone. And so is there other big guys that he can go against in the Big Ten. We will see where he lands. Illinois got their first transfer in the transfer portal. There are other players that are now entering. Rumors that Illinois is in contention for a lot of those guys, which Coach Underwood said that this has become a destination spot. Hopefully they don't have to sell too much, saying, okay, when you come here and you're here and you work, you're going to compete for regular Big Ten season title or the Big Ten tournament title. They've made the NCAA tournament. We've won this many Big Ten games since 2020. Hopefully that's going to sell itself. So we have to just take it day by day and see what transfers start to come into the program as we get into the summer. But the first domino falls of getting a transfer and somebody leaving. I know the NCAA and Domask, I think they have to deal with if they're going to give him another year or not. Maybe not, because we're slowly getting out of this transfer portal stuff, but we will see. But Dain Dainja's gone. Sad to see him go. If you watch this, leave a comment or anything about the thoughts, if you're an Illinois fan, about what this means, what this could mean for Illinois. Were we shocked about Dain Dainja leaving and all that other stuff? So just a very quick episode talking and trying to talk that part out. Like and subscribe, everything else. Thank you guys for watching and listening. We'll see you guys next time.
Mm-hmm.